Well, it's time to cross the T's, dot the I's. Rest of the week's top story. Joining me now, conservative columnist and Fox News contributor Jedediah Bila, Democratic strategist Julie Roginski, and Democratic pollster Doug Schoen. Let's start off this week with the next battle in Washington, the debt ceiling. You know, people are getting very tired about it because I don't think they expect them to do anything. But can they raise the debt ceiling? I mean, you know, Art Laffer didn't seem too concerned about it, about raising the debt ceiling without spending cuts.
I'm tired of it. I'm tired of seeing the ceiling just go up and up and up and no significant spending cuts. And I don't mean this baseline budgeting they do in Washington. I want real cuts. I don't want decreases in the rate of future increases. I want legitimate cuts. We are over $16 trillion in debt. This president is responsible for annual deficits over $1 trillion. I'm tired of it. I want the cuts, or they don't get the ceiling raised.
What's your view?
Well, there's the sequester and there's the debt ceiling. The sequester is a time to talk about spending cuts if that's what you want to do. But the debt ceiling is not something you play with. It's the full faith and credit of the United States. If the Republicans persist every few months in playing this debt ceiling fight, it will lead to more and more of our you know, the fact that we're going to keep getting downgraded by Fitch is already threatening to do that. And at the end of the day, it's going to lead to economic catastrophe for this nation. If they want to be unpatriotic and do that every few months, that's their decision. But they will keep losing elections if they keep toying with our full faith and credit.
Doug, what's your take on this?
I have a third view, Tom. I think that the conversation we just heard between Julie and Jedediah is illustrative of why we need to do a big deal, why we need to follow the Bowles-Simpson format and reduce rates on income tax, limit deductions, cut spending, reform entitlements, cut defense, and yes, raise the debt ceiling because it is the full faith and credit of the United States, but it's a larger issue than just the politics of back and forth. It's who we are as a nation. Can we get our finances under control? Can we get our budgeting and our tax system? And if the answer to that is no, we all lose, Democrats and Republicans. It goes beyond who wins and loses elections to who we are as a people.
I think Doug brings up a good point, but where's the will to get a debt ceiling, a big grand budget done or a big deal done? I mean, we don't have leadership on either side that's able to accomplish that. We tried. I mean, Obama certainly tried that last year. Boehner came very close, and then the Tea Party guys pulled him back. So, Doug, I think in the perfect world, you're 100% right, but unfortunately, I just don't see it happening under this, under this Congress right now.
We bring in enough revenue already to make sure that we don't go into default. Right. So this issue of the full faith and credit of the United States, that is not in jeopardy.
That is a fake argument. That is a fake argument. Yes, yes.
So we need to be serious about what's at risk here, and we bring in plenty of revenue here. If we need to pay what we need to pay in order to make sure that the faith and credit of the United
knows
States
that we borrow 40 cents on the dollar. So basically, we have enough money for 60% of what we're spending. It's just a question of prioritizing. I always find it interesting that they're threatening grandma, though, with their Social Security checks.
But what are you going to pay? What are you not going to pay then if you're right? But then what are you going to choose not to pay? You're going to choose not to pay our veterans? You're going to choose not to pay grandma?
Who, if that backlash is on the person that says I'm not going to pay grandma. But governors of both Louisiana and Nebraska and the legislature in North Carolina, they're all proposing to get rid of the income tax completely. Julie, what do you think?
Well, it depends how they're going to balance their budgets. I mean, that's great, but the way Bobby Jindal wants to do it down in Louisiana is have a flat tax, and that's incredibly regressive. I'm very opposed to it. If they figure out a way to do that without having...
Go back to regressive. Explain regressive.
Regressive means that obviously... If the more
a poor person pays the same amount for bread that a rich person does.
Correct, but a poor person has less income with which to buy necessary supplies than a rich person does, and so therefore a tax that makes them pay the same rate is a lot more regressive for the poor person than for the rich person. And so at the end of the day, if that's what Bobby Jindal wants to do, I mean, he really is robbing, the poor, robbing Robin Hood.
It's always the argument against a flat tax.
Well, that's it because it's true. In my opinion, it's absolutely
true. What do you make of this no tax business?
To me, it's a good idea in theory. The practical issue is it does fall more heavily on the poor, and those of us who are in the center or even center left frequently have as our worldview that we don't want to disproportionately burden lower-income people. That's a philosophical issue, Tom, and it also ties into what other taxes get raised, because you need revenue. Are you going to raise property taxes? Are you going to raise taxes on what Florida calls intangibles, stocks and bonds? So it's a larger issue of tax reform. Again, in theory, makes sense. The devil's in the details.
Jedediah, what is it? Something like 6 states that don't have an income tax. And it seems like the people are doing okay.
It makes those states incredibly attractive to a lot of people like myself, and I think it makes other states like New York and New Jersey, for example, very difficult for them to compete with these other states in terms of their ability to attract people, to attract businesses, to attract those who are interested in holding on to more of their hard-earned cash and having their businesses be able to grow and succeed.
The poor would get more jobs, and everybody would win out of that whole deal. All right. Finally, listen, this is right down the line of politics here. Juice bar owner in Utah. He's instituted a pricing structure for his customers. Customers pay that identify themselves as liberal pay $1 more for their drinks. And guess what? The money goes to conservative causes. So, Doug, what would you do if they said, are you a liberal? And if so, it's $1 more for you, sir.
I would say I'm a nonpartisan centrist who draws the best from both sides, but I'm happy to give $1 to a liberal and a conservative cause if that's going to promote the cause of reconciliation and tolerance, both in the juice bar in America.
Wow. By the time he was done with that, we'd be out of juice. That's a long speech.
The perfect answer. You are a politician, aren't you? Julie, come on, you're a Democrat. So
I thought Doug was few, but I wasn't sure.
I am.
I would admit to it. I think the part that would kill me is the fact that it would go to conservative causes. I don't mind paying $1 more for my beliefs. I do mind it going to places that I don't want to go to. So I probably wouldn't frequent that bar.
Jedediah?
I am a smoothie gal. I live on smoothies. So I need to go to this place. I will get my discount appropriately. And look, this is what private businesses do sometimes. It might sound a little crazy to some people, but they're entitled. And I would say the same thing if they were charging conservatives more. They're entitled to make their own rules.
I got the feeling in Utah they might get more business than less.
Yeah, I do too. I do as well.
All right, Jedediah, Bila, Julie Rudzinski, Doug Show, and thank you all very much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.